It all started like any modern love story. I swiped right on a guy on Tinder, and to my surprise, we matched. He seemed charming, funny, and good-looking. After exchanging a few messages, we decided to meet up for a coffee date. The first 2 dates were casual. Coffee, walks in the park, nothing that set off any alarms. He seemed normal, friendly, someone I could trust. By the time our 3rd date rolled around, I felt comfortable enough to accept his invitation to have a glass of wine at his place. I thought, why not? I like this guy, and he hasn't given me any reason to feel unsafe. When I arrived, everything seemed fine. His apartment was clean, cozy even. He poured me a glass of wine, and we sat on his couch talking, laughing. For a moment, I let my guard down, feeling like maybe this could turn into something real. But then it hit me. A strange, heavy fog settled over my mind. My limbs felt weak, like I was swimming through molasses. And that's when I knew something was terribly wrong. Here's the thing. I've been drugged before. It's not something I like to talk about, but that horrible experience saved my life that night. I recognized the symptoms immediately. I didn't panic. Somehow I managed to keep my cool, plastering a cheerful smile on my face. "Hey," I said as casually as I could. "I'm just going to run to the bathroom really quick." The moment I locked the bathroom door, I fumbled for my phone, my hands trembling so badly I could barely dial. I called the police, whispering into the receiver that I'd been drugged and was locked in a stranger's bathroom. I begged them to come quickly, my voice cracking with fear. Then everything went dark. When I came to, I was being carried out of the apartment. I was disoriented, slipping in and out of consciousness, but I remember one detail vividly. The police had put a bag over my head. At the time, I thought it was some kind of surreal hallucination from the drugs. It wasn't until days later, when I went to the station to give my statement, that I learned the horrifying truth. After recounting everything to the officers, I hesitated before asking, "This might sound strange, but did you put a bag over my head when you rescued me? Or was that just in my head?" The officer's face turned somber. "Yes," he said. "We did." My stomach dropped. I asked why, dreading the answer. "We thought it would be too traumatizing for you to see what he had prepared for you in the living room." To this day, I don't know what he had planned for me, and honestly, I don't want to know. The thought alone keeps me awake at night. What I do know is that I was lucky. Lucky that I recognized the signs, lucky that I acted quickly, and lucky that the police got there in time. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this. Always let someone know where you're going, who you're meeting, and when you're supposed to check in. It doesn't matter how safe you feel. It's better to be overly cautious than to end up like I almost did. I never thought a Tinder date could turn into a nightmare, but that's exactly what happened to me. My name is Sarah, and this is my story. It all started on a lonely Friday night. I was scrolling through Tinder, half-heartedly swiping left and right. That's when I came across Alex's profile. He seemed perfect, tall, dark-haired, with a charming smile. His bio mentioned he was a successful graphic designer who loved hiking and cooking. I swiped right, and it was an instant match. We chatted for a week and everything seemed normal. Alex was witty, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. He asked about my job as a teacher, my hobbies, and even remembered small details about my family that I'd mentioned in passing. I felt like I was really connecting with someone. After a week of texting, we agreed to meet for coffee at a local cafe. I was nervous but excited. When I arrived, Alex was already there, looking even better than his photos. He greeted me with a warm smile and a gentle hug. The date went well, really well. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. Alex was charming and attentive, laughing at my jokes and sharing interesting stories about his travels. Time flew by, and before I knew it, the cafe was closing. As we stood outside, Alex suggested we continue the evening at his place. He lived nearby and offered to cook dinner. I hesitated. Despite how well the date had gone, I had a strict rule about not going home with someone on the first date. I politely declined, explaining that I had an early start the next day. Alex seemed disappointed but understanding. We said goodbye with a promise to meet again soon. That's when things took a dark turn. Later that night, my phone buzzed with messages from Alex. At first, they were sweet, telling me how much he enjoyed our date and how he couldn't wait to see me again. But then the tone changed. He started asking for more photos of me. Send me a picture. I miss your face already. Come on, just one selfie, please. Why aren't you responding? Are you ignoring me? The messages came rapid fire, each one more demanding than the last. I tried to deflect, saying I was getting ready for bed, but Alex wouldn't let up. I need to see you, now. If you don't send a picture, I'll know you don't really like me. Why are you being such a tease? I was taken aback by his sudden change in behavior. The charming, respectful Alex from our date was gone, replaced by someone possessive and aggressive. I decided to be direct, explaining that I wasn't comfortable with his requests and that he was moving too fast. That's when he sent it, an image that still haunts me to this day. It was a crude, homemade doll, but not just any doll. This one had my face, a printed version of my Tinder profile picture, carefully pasted onto its head. The doll wore a dress that matched what I had worn on our date, right down to the small flower brooch I had pinned to my collar. But the most disturbing part? The doll was posed in compromising positions with inappropriate additions that made my skin crawl. My heart raced as I stared at the image, unable to process what I was seeing. How had he made this so quickly? Had he been planning this all along? The questions swirled in my mind as more messages came through. Do you like it? I made it just for you. We can play with it together next time. I'm making more. You're my muse now. Panic set in. I immediately blocked Alex on Tinder and all social media. I even changed my phone number the next day. But the damage was done. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was out there watching me, crafting more dolls. For weeks, I jumped at every sound, convinced Alex had found me. I changed my routines, varied my commute to work, and even considered moving to a new apartment. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time I saw someone who looked like Alex on the street, my heart would race. The experience left me shaken and wary of online dating. I deleted all my dating apps and couldn't bring myself to even think about meeting someone new for months. I went to therapy to deal with the anxiety and paranoia that followed me everywhere. To this day, I can't look at dolls without feeling a chill run down my spine. Every time I pass a toy store or see a child with a doll, I'm reminded of that night and the twisted creation Alex made. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but here I am. What started as a simple Tinder match turned into the most terrifying experience of my life. It all began when I matched with Charisse. Her profile was perfect, beautiful, intelligent, and seemingly genuine. We chatted for a week, exchanging pictures and voice notes. Everything felt so natural, so real. Our first date was magical. We had dinner at a cozy restaurant, laughed for hours, and ended the night with a sweet kiss on the cheek. I went home feeling like I'd won the lottery, but that's when my nightmare truly began. Late that night, my phone buzzed with urgent messages. They claimed to be from a fraud department, insisting I needed to call immediately. In my post-date haze, I didn't think twice. I dialed the number, and that's when the trap snapped shut. The voice on the other end was calm, professional. They claimed my accounts had been compromised and that they needed to secure them immediately. Before I knew what was happening, I was following their instructions, unlocking my bank accounts one by one. It wasn't until the next morning that the horrifying truth hit me. Tens of thousands of pounds gone. My life savings wiped out in a single night. But the horror didn't end there. Oh no, it was just beginning. A few days later, I received a message from Charisse asking to meet again. Despite my better judgment, I agreed. I thought maybe, just maybe, she wasn't involved. I couldn't have been more wrong. When I arrived at the meeting spot, a van pulled up. 2 men jumped out, grabbed me, and forced me inside. I felt a sharp prick in my arm, and everything went fuzzy. I woke up hours later in a dingy room, my head pounding. Charisse was there, but she wasn't the sweet girl from our date. Her eyes were cold, calculating. She told me they had compromising photos of me, threatening to send them to everyone I knew if I went to the police. I managed to escape, but the nightmare didn't end. For weeks, I jumped at every sound, convinced they were coming for me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The trauma of being drugged and assaulted haunted my every waking moment. Even now, months later, I struggle to trust anyone. Every notification on my phone sends a chill down my spine. I've deleted all dating apps, changed my number, even moved to a new city. But the fear remains. This is my warning to you. Behind that perfect Tinder profile could be a predator waiting to strike. Be careful out there, because sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't hiding under your bed. They're hiding behind a smartphone screen.